Number 2 to order the book, and I have 540-772-1943.
That is correct.
Okay, so that's another phone number, 540-772-1943.
I do presentations for the book as well, 150 slide presentations, and that's where my people get me through my website, which is historictruth.info, historictruth.info. Okay, or they can just Google my name, David Imhotep.
And I was going to say, of course, we will link you to Dr. Imhotep through WLWT.com, because people, universities, schools can call you to come and speak. This is really important research, and we need to know more about this.
Thank you so much.
So I can't wait to finish reading the book. This is great. The First Americans Were Africans by Dr. David Imhotep. Thank you so much for coming. You have to come back.
Thank you.
All right, stick with us. We'll be back in a moment with some calendar events.
So, Kwanzaa was created as a very important way to introduce these values and build an appreciation for them. Kwanzaa is not designed to be a replacement for Christmas. Now, some people have read numerous articles on this, and some people say, well, originally it's supposed to be a replacement for Christmas, but if you go to the official website, numerous articles I've read dealing with Kwanzaa. Okay, like 5 things you didn't know about Kwanzaa but should, by M.K. Asante, who's the son of Dr. Malefe Kete Asante. This article is from December 25th, 2009, thegrio.com, G-R-I-O, thegrio.com. This outlines Kwanzaa, and today you have about 20 million people around the world, up to 20 million people around the world who celebrate Kwanzaa. You'll see some discrepancies in the numbers, but approximately about 20 million people around the world celebrate Kwanzaa. So you can look at different articles. Another article from newsone.com, which is another excellent African-American news source. Quick study, what is the meaning of Kwanzaa? This is from December 20th, 2011. Quick study, what is the meaning of Kwanzaa? Another article, newsone.com, December 20th, 2011. 10 facts about Kwanzaa founder Dr. Karenga. 10 facts about Kwanzaa founder Dr. Karenga. You can check out from elevate.com, E-L-E-V, the number 8.com. Day 1, celebration of Kwanzaa, Umoja. This is from December 26, 2011. Okay, so the different articles on this, but it was not designed to be a replacement for Christmas, and people can celebrate Christmas as well as Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday. It's not a religious holiday. You can belong to any different religion, any particular religion, or spiritual system, and still celebrate Kwanzaa. This is why Kwanzaa is on December 26th. Okay, so so you can celebrate Christmas and Kwanzaa if you like. Now, I would question people: have you studied the history of Christmas? Have you studied the pre-Christian history of Christmas? Okay, why do we celebrate Christmas? Why is Christmas on December 25th? You check out the lecture ideas, should African Americans celebrate European holidays, the history of Christmas. We break that down in there. And when we participate in various holidays, we have to look at this from the perspective of African people, the indigenous people to this land, understanding our history and asking, is this good for African people? What is this accomplishing? Why are we doing this? Are we doing it because the media, through the television, tells us to do this? Or is this something beneficial for our people? Okay, so this wraps up 3 main reasons why Kwanzaa was created. Now, in this video clip here, Dr. Claude Anderson, this is from Hidden Colors 2, documented Hidden Colors 2, The Triumph of Melanin. Dr. Claude Anderson, who's the author of Black Label, White Wealth, and, as well as Powernomics and Dirty Little Secrets About Black History, Volume 1 and Volume 2. He's talking about if you have no money, you have no say, okay? He's dealing with what happens when you don't control your money, okay? So take a look at this.
There's a direct relationship between having the businesses and being in prison. Go find see how many Asians you can find in American prisons. You ain't gonna be in there. But 51% of your prison will be black because blacks don't have any businesses and industries. There's a direct link. Blacks won't practice group economics. Black won't practice group politics. If you don't practice, you're setting yourself up. I told that 5-story building, you're setting yourself to get wiped out. Understand the nature of race, which is economics. If you build the first floor, it's economic. Build your businesses and your industries. Control business and industry, and put that pools in your money, and hold that money, and practice group economics with it. Arab and Asian money bounces 12 to 13 times what it leaves. Jewish money bounces 18 times. Black folk got to learn how to practice group economics. Black Americans spend every penny they get outside their own community. Then you take the money and the wealth that you get from that first floor and go to the second floor. The second floor is politics. You then take that money on the first floor and you control your politics. Black folk must quit allowing people to tell them to go out and vote. Vote for what? Nobody's gonna do anything for black folk in politics. Politics is controlled by money, major corporations who got the money. That's what controls politics. If you have no money, you have no say-so, you have no benefits coming. So you take your money and you control, and you take your money from the first floor, you buy every politician on the second floor. And then the politician you can't buy, you rent or lease them to get what you need. Then once you get the second floor under control with the politician, with your money, then you go to the third floor. The third floor then is the police department and the court system. You take your money from the first floor and your politics on the second floor, and you control the court system and the police departments. Then the fourth floor, then is media. You then take the money that you generate off the first floor from business and industries, and you go after radio stations, TV stations, newspapers, and cable systems, so that you can now inform and communicate with your own people. Right now, black folk own and control less than 35 thousandths of 1% of the media in the United States. Out of 12,000 radio stations, black folk own about something like about 75, 80. That's all. You own no cable systems. You don't have a daily newspaper. You have nothing of importance. You got about one black TV station. And so you can't communicate with your people, you can't inform your people, you can't do anything. You can have Rush Limbaugh and all the rest of the guys talking about racism all day long and bad-mouthing you, and O'Reilly's. They can call black folk all kind of names all day long. What are you gonna do? You can't respond. You can't communicate with your own people because you don't have an economic base. 51% of all the prisoners in the United States are black people. You know you only make up 12% of the population. That's no accident. It's because you don't control the economics and the politics. And they're gonna go after the weakest people they can get their hands on to incarcerate them. That's the black folk. And what are you gonna do in response to them when they over incarcerate you? You're gonna go out and have a march, a demonstration. We're gonna march. March for what? Who cares? March, they never changed anything.
All right, so that's an excellent clip by Dr. Claude Anderson from Hidden Colors 2. If you have no money, you have no say. Now, some people have heard me talk about this before. I deal with how European white supremacy, European white supremacy is like the Wizard of Oz. Okay, so most people are familiar with the story of the Wizard of Oz. Dorothy, Tin Man, Scarecrow, Cowardly Lion, and Toto. They're going down the yellow brick road searching for the wizard, okay? Dorothy wants to go home. The Tin Man is looking for a heart. The Cowardly Lion wants courage, and the Scarecrow wants a brain, okay? So they get to the wizard, and they see this big mechanical face that's talking to them, and there's steam coming or smoke coming from its ears, and it has a deep voice, and they're scared of it. Okay, now this wizard is supposed to be omnipotent, all-powerful, omniscient, all-knowing. All right, so they're petrified by it. And Toto, the dog, goes around to the side, pulls back the little curtain, and exposes that it's a man behind the curtain manipulating technology to make himself look much larger, much more powerful, much smarter than he actually is. Okay, and this is what European white supremacy is. For European white supremacy to really work, you have to believe it. You have to believe that it's true. European white supremacy coming out of the ideology that Europeans are supreme. They can go around the world because of manifest destiny, conquer people's, take people's land, do what they want with it. If you go back and look around the time that Columbus sails, I can't remember whether it was before or after August 3rd, 1492, when he set sail on his first voyage. But the Pope at the time divides the world between Spain and Portugal, gives one half to Spain, the other half to Portugal, and sends them out to go conquer the world. Okay, this comes out of this ideology. And then racism, which is a power structure, is going to evolve over about a 300-year period of time, the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, based in European white supremacy. But the power structure also keeps European white supremacy in place and justifies it, keeps this ideology that Europeans are supreme and do whatever they want. Okay, so for it to really work, you have to believe it. Now, what they found was that in the Wizard of Oz, they found everything that they were looking for was already inside of them. They just didn't know it. They didn't have the right teacher to bring it out. Okay, and they're buying into an illusion that the wizard knows everything and is supreme, but that's not the truth. So Dorothy finds out that all she has to do is click her heels 3 times, and she can go home whenever she wants to. The Tin Man finds out that he has that he had a heart. He just didn't know it. He didn't have somebody to tell him. The Scarecrow found out that he had a brain and he had demonstrated using his brain, but he didn't have anybody to tell him that he had a brain. And this goes to the real meaning of education, coming from the Latin word educere or educere. I'm not sure I pronounce it, E-D-U-C-E-R-E, which means to draw out or to bring out. And the Cowardly Lion had demonstrated courage, but he didn't have somebody to tell him that he was courageous, so he didn't know it. So everything they were looking for was already in them. They just didn't know it. So this is just like African people. We study our history, we see we've accomplished what we need to do in the future. We've done it in the past, we need to do it in the future. We just don't know this, okay? And we're buying into somebody else's reality. We're buying into an illusion. Once again, power is the ability to define and shape reality and have other people accept your definition of reality as if it were their own. All right, so now when we look at 5 fundamental principles of traditional African first fruit festivals, so we dealt with 3 reasons why Kwanzaa was created, and we dealt with the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, the Nguzo Saba. Well, the 7 principles come out of 5 fundamental principles of traditional first fruit African celebrations. Okay, so you're going to find these 5 common themes regardless of which culture you're looking at. And this lays the foundation for Kwanzaa that gives birth to the 7 principles. So this is what this is drawing on, and this is reconnecting African Americans and African people to African culture, traditional African culture. Okay, so number 1, we have ingathering. Once again, ingathering is a coming together. So ingathering is a time of coming together or ingathering amongst the people to reaffirm the bonds between them. The people coming together to reaffirm the bonds between them. Number 2, we have reverence, a special time for the creator or creatress, okay, and creation in thanks and respect for the blessings, bountifulness, and beauty of creation. Okay, now regardless of whatever name you use for that creator or creator's force, it may be Amen or Amen Ra, Amun Ra, maybe Olodumare amongst the Yoruba and Ifa, okay, it may be God or Jesus, or correctly it would be Yeshua, okay, because the letter J wasn't invented until 1630 AD, and the name was Yeshua. And Yeshua is an Amharic word, which is the ancient language of the Abyssinians or Ethiopians, because Ethiopia is a Greek word. So Yeshua, or maybe the Supreme Force, may be Allah, or what have you. Okay, this is a time for a special time for the Creator and creation, and thanks, to give thanks to the Creator that we're still here. Okay, that we are still strong, that we can move on, okay? But thank for the blessings that we have in the beauty of creation. Now, when we look at Amen, okay, most people know Amen as at the end of a prayer, but people don't understand that Amen comes from the Amen priesthood, or the Amun priesthood and priestesshood in ancient Kemet. And you're going to have the early Christians who go into the temples of the Amen priesthood to practice Christianity, okay? And this is even before the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. They're going to go into these temples to practice Christianity. And on the walls of the temple, they see stories that are there, carved in the walls of the temples. There's stories there, these ancient stories. And they're going to write down these stories, okay, and create adaptations of these stories. And they go to a Phoenician city called Byblos to get papyrus to write a book on that these stories are going to be in, okay? And we know the book as Bible, but The word actually comes from bublos, and you'll see the word biblos, B-Y-B-L-O-S, okay, or you may see B-I-B-L-O-S, and we call it today Bible, but it comes from bublos, and if you look up the word Bible, it probably tells you to see biblio, and if you look up biblio, and it gives you the definition of that, it tells you that it goes back to bublos, and it tells you this was a Phoenician city that produced papyrus, okay? And these early Christians are going to put the word amen or amun at the end of their prayers in honor of the Amen priesthood, whose temples they're in practicing Christianity in its early days. If you check out the DVD lecture we have, the History of the Bible and Quran based upon Hebrew and Arabic, and the book of Coming Forth by Day, is Professor Joseph Ben Levy, Dr. Raketi Amin. Professor Ben Levy, he speaks 5 languages. He's dealing with early Christian history, and he talks about you had 12 different groups, 12 different sects of Christians, and they're practicing and believing different things, and what they're practicing is more in line with traditional African spiritual systems, because Judaism, Islam, Christianity, as well as all the other religions, especially those 3, they have their foundation in elements from traditional African spiritual systems, especially coming out of ancient Kemet. Okay, so they're practicing different things. You have some early Christians who believe in reincarnation, or your soul comes back to live another life. Okay, so you have different Christians practicing different things, and this is one of the reasons why the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD was convened, because of these different arguments, especially the arguments of Bishop Arius. Okay, now when you read the story, it may say, again, Bishop Arius about the nature of Jesus the Christ, but really if you read the historical origin of Christianity by Dr. Walter Williams, it's about Bishop Arius is contending against the doctrine of Serapis Christos, okay, which means Christ the Savior. And this was the deity at the time. And at the First Council of Nicaea, it's going to be Serapis that gets inserted into the First Holy Trinity to take the place of Heru, okay? So you have to study this and study the subsequent ecumenical councils, especially the Council of Ephesus in 431 AD, where Serapis gets transformed into the Messiah, or the Christos, or later Christ. Okay, we have to understand Christ is not a name, it's a title. And you've had other people who've had the title of Christ, like Heru, Prometheus, Bacchus, Apollo, things like this. I encourage people to get the book Christianity Before Christ by Dr. John G. Jackson, where he breaks all this down, as well as Pagan Origin of the Christ Myth by Dr. John G. Jackson as well. Okay, and then once you read those, then you can read The World's 16 Crucified Saviors by Percy Graves. Okay, so back to 5 fundamental principles of traditional African first fruit festivals: ingathering and reverence, 1 and 2. Number 3, commemoration, a time of commemoration of the past in pursuit of its lessons and in honor of its models of human excellence, our ancestors. Okay, so commemoration, and we commemorate our ancestors. African people honored and revered their ancestors. They did not worship their ancestors, but they honored and revered their ancestors and realized that those spirits are coming back, those spirits of the ancestors, and they come back as the children. Okay, so if you read Let the Circle Be Unbroken by Dr. Marimba Ani, we understood that in traditional African societies, when they talked about the community consisted of those who were living today in the present. They consisted of the ancestors and those yet to be born as well, okay? So it's very important. Number 4, recommitment. A time of recommitment to our highest cultural ideas in our ongoing effort to always bring forth the best of African culture, thought, and practice. Recommitment, recommitting ourselves to the community, recommitting ourselves to our people. Okay, a time of recommitment to our highest cultural ideas in our ongoing effort to always bring forth the best of African culture, thought, and practice. And number 5, celebration, okay? A time of celebration of the good of life and of existences itself, the good of family, community, and culture, the good of the awareness and the ordinary, in a word, the good of the divine, natural, and the social. So it's a celebration as well. And as we talked about before, in traditional African societies, about 1/3 of the year was spent in celebration. Okay, so we have the 5 fundamental principles of traditional African first fruit festivals: ingathering, reverence, commemoration, recommitment, and celebration, okay? And out of these 5 traditional practices come the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, or the Nguzo Saba. All right, now, when we look briefly at some popular elements of Kwanzaa, and once again, we're doing an overview of what Kwanzaa is. You can go to officialkwanzaawebsite.com for more information. You can watch the documentary, The Black Candle, by M.K. Asante for more information on Kwanzaa. And each year around Kwanzaa time, on thegrio.com, blackamericaweb.com, yourblackworld.com, theroot.com, they have articles dealing with Kwanzaa. Okay, but this gives you a basic overview and connects this to some African history that they won't talk about in those articles, because I know what they talk about because I read the articles. All right, now, the greeting for Kwanzaa. There is a greeting during the time of Kwanzaa. The greeting is a habaragani. Habaragani is a Kiswahili term which means, what's the news? Okay, so the proper response to habaragani would be whatever day of Kwanzaa it is. So if it's the first day of Kwanzaa, it would be umoja. If it's the second day, it would be kujichagulia. Okay, the response to habaragani is not habaragani. All right, if it's before Kwanzaa, the response would be, you could say Kwanzaa. Okay, so that's just an understanding of that. Now, you'll see the symbol in different articles about Kwanzaa, things like this. The kanara, or the candle holder. Okay, in the candle holder you have 7 candles, and these are symbols of Kwanzaa also. But the Kwanzaa candles, the holder holds the 7 candles. The candles, you'll have 3 green candles, 3 red candles, and 1 black candle. The black candle is in the middle. This is symbolic of the roots, our parents, people, and continental Africans. Okay, and then at the end of Kwanzaa, usually at the end of Kwanzaa, gifts are given to the children. Some adults may give gifts to one another, like family members or something like that, but usually the gifts are for the children, okay? They're called zawadi, or gifts, usually given on the last day of Kwanzaa, which would be imani, faith, to children to reward them for exhibiting the 7 principles of the Nguzo Saba for the previous year. So this is a reward for this, and they encourage them to exhibit these 7 principles for the new year. So once again, the Kwanzaa is celebrated from December 26th to January the 1st. We know it is New Year's Day, but that's the last day of Kwanzaa. So you carry these principles over into the new year so that you'll practice them for the entire year. Unfortunately, many people make the mistake and they become super African during Kwanzaa and back to their same old behavior and thought process and mentality the rest of the year. Okay, the idea of Kwanzaa is to take these principles and use these throughout the year. All right, now then you have the bandera, which is the flag, okay, the red, black, and green flag. Now the Kwanzaa flag is made up of the colors of the organization US, which is red, black, and green, or black, red, and green. Black is for the people, okay, African people. Red is for the struggle and the blood shed by African people. And green is for the future and hope that comes from their struggle and for the land as well, okay? And the fight has always been over the land. African people have been at war for over 500 years. The fight has always been over the land, and the war never ended. It didn't end at the end of slavery in this country, December 1865. It didn't end with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965. The war never ended. So this is what we have to understand. Okay, so these are some basic elements of Kwanzaa: the greeting, the kanara, and then you have the 7 candles also, zawadi, which are the gifts, and the bandera, the flag. Now, people also often ask, what good does knowing all this history and culture do? Well, first thing I would ask is look at every other ethnic group in America, and you'll see that they're doing better than African Americans, and they have their history and culture intact, number one. Once again, what you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you've been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. Okay, to put it another way, we could look at Dr. Carter G. Woodson in 1933, The Miseducation of the Negro. He said, when you control a man's thinking, you don't have to worry about his actions. You don't have to tell him, do not stand here or go yonder. He will find his proper place and stay in it. You don't have to tell him to go to the back door. He will find the back door on his own, and if there is no back door, he will cut one for his special benefit. His education makes it necessary. Okay, so once again, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. Now, I'm going to give you a few examples of how understanding culture and history benefit African Americans, and these are studies, recent studies that have been done. People who identify with race more have high self-esteem. Now, this was an article from MadameNoor.com, March 8, 2011. You can look up this article, Google the article. Other publications like YourBlackWorld.com, things like this, picked up on this study that was done. The name of this particular article, study finds that blacks with strong racial identity are happier. Okay? A recent study by psychology researchers at Michigan State University found that African Americans who identify more strongly with their racial identity are generally happier. Okay? And they surmise that because they identify with their race, this gave them some type of identity to a group of people, to the whole. It made them much happier. But you can Google that article, read that, and it has a link that takes you to the actual study that was done so you can read more about that. Okay? Now, another article about a recent study, African American teens with racial pride do better in school. This is from AfricanGlobe.net, but YourBlackWorld.com talked about this as well, and other publications, other websites. Black teens with racial pride do better in school was the name of this particular article. This is at AfricanGlobe.net. This was published January the 1st, 2013. They found African American teenagers perform better academically when their parents instill in them a sense of racial pride. Okay? Now this was a study done by Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University. Okay, that is cited in this article, and they have a link in the article that takes you to the actual study so you can read it for yourself. Proper documentation ends all conversation. A new study by the University of Pittsburgh and Harvard University shows that when parents use racial socialization, such as talking to their children or engaging in activities that promote feelings of racial knowledge, pride, and connection, it offsets racial discrimination's potentially negative impact on students' academic development. So when you teach them about their history, when you teach them about their culture, when they have positive self-esteem, when they're rooted in their history and culture, what this does is this acts as a buffer. Going back to Dr. Marimba Ani talking about how culture is the immune system. They're documenting what we've known for thousands of years. Okay? It acts as an immune system which buffers them and offsets racial discrimination's potentially negative impact on students' academic development. Okay, so this is extremely important. So we can show parents, we can provide evidence to show them why the history and culture are important. If you can't just look at other ethnic groups and see what they have and see why it's important to them. When we look at economic empowerment, we see that 1 out of 10 Asians are business owners. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this. Asian Americans have the highest average household income in America. It's either the average or the median. It's about $65,000 a year. 1 out of 10 Asians are business owners, so they can employ their own people. About 1 out of 34 European Americans or white Americans are business owners. About 1 out of 54, 55 Hispanics are business owners, and about 1 out of 104 African Americans are business owners. Okay, so we have the least ability to employ our own people. This goes back to us boycotting our own businesses. Okay, so here's another article you can check out, AfricanGlobe.net. Black teens with racial pride do better in school. All right, now, usually in my presentations with the video from Martin Malcolm and Marcus Garvey called the M to the Third Power. So we'll do that as well. And it's Dr. King, Malcolm X, and Marcus Garvey. And Dr. King, like most people have never heard of before. But I usually am oftentimes with this quote from Malcolm X, one of my heroes. And the book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, I read that in 1992, right around the time the movie came out. And that book blew my mind and changed my life also. But Malcolm X says, education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. So we should ask ourselves, what are we preparing for? Are we using the lessons from the past? If we don't know the past, if we don't study our history, we can't use those lessons for the past to benefit ourselves, our children, and our grandchildren. All right, so this clip that you're going to see from the 3 M's, Martin, Marcus, and Malcolm, I call it M to the 3rd power. The words from Dr. King are from April 3rd, 1968, the day before he was assassinated. The words come from the speech, I've been to the mountaintop. And there's a reason why you only hear the last 2 minutes or 1 minute of that speech when he says, I've been to the mountaintop, I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get to the promised land. The reason why is because he's dealing with economic empowerment, and you control the radius of a man's thought, you can control the circumference of his actions. So that entire speech was something like about 43, 45